Hello and welcome to this week's This Racing Life, where we are very much celebrating point-to-point racing with the season well underway. Christina McCallany pops in to see Phil Rowley and Alex Edwards to reflect upon their Cheltenham Festival Fox Hunter success, and also pays a visit to Alan and Lornie Hill. Meanwhile, I'm in Wales to see Tim Vaughan, who later will be discussing his history in point-to-point racing and the remarkable pony racing achievements of his son Ed. But first, he talks me through some of his team for the season and the changes he's been making here, which are getting great results. Tim, it's been great to see some of the horses this morning out on the gallops. Just pick our way through a couple of them. Trickster was one we had a look at. Is he likely to be out over the Christmas period?
He is, yeah. The plan is, been a bit frustrating this year. He's a really sound, healthy horse last season, and we won 3 novice hurdles with him, and he was 7th in the EBF final at Sandown. So, usually that's a very solid race, the form to come out. We went to Hexham first time out of the fence with him. He was a bit disappointing in truth, and I think he probably would have won and just hit the last very hard and stumbled, and the horses got away from him. But anyway, we've treated him for stomach ulcers now, and we're hoping to go to the 3-mile novice handicap chase on Welsh Grand National Day. He's in good form now, he's progressing, and hopefully that's the plan for him. And
trip-wise, that's about right, do you think, at this stage?
I'd say so. He's a winner round Chepstow, over 3 mile, and I say he's an out-and-out stayer.
Was the ulcers just something you found, or I suppose, did you get back from Hexham and think something wasn't right?
Look, he didn't jump great at Hexham, and it was strange. He'd been schooling well at home, and last year he was so honest and reliable, and he's very, very neat jumper of a hurdle, so it caught me off guard. But more so, he just wasn't quite clicking for me, really. And I'd gone through all the sort of saga with him. We became what I call an MOT. Physically, he seemed sound and healthy, and he's moving well and things, and wind was good, lungs were good, so it's sort of a tick box exercise, really. And Alan Johns came in the one morning, schooled him, said, he's just not in the zone, Tim. The horse, he's drifting in his mind, and I suppose it focused my mind, think, right, something's still wrong, so we'll try the ulcer route. And he had quite severe ulcer, so hopefully we've resolved that now, and he should be right for Welsh National Day.
Who else have you got, and just throw some at me that you're excited about? In what is, it's still early season, really, isn't it? Maybe halfway.
Yeah,
there's still a lot to look forward to, isn't it?
It's a lot. We'd get them going from October onwards, but a lot of my time I'd have them sort of fresh enough to go in the spring. So February, March, April onwards, you can have a good tail end. And you never know, horses improve then to go to the festivals and Aintree and Gentleman Likes. But we've got a couple. Copper Gone West is one who I think will really progress. Just lost away a little bit in the first run early on this season, but she's a mare. I'd love to think she'll climb. She finished second at Raising in a Thames qualifier recently, and I'm hoping she'll sort of take off now.
Was there a temptation to jump a fence with her at all? Or?
Look, it crossed our mind, but to be brutally honest, she fell the back end of last season at Cheltenham when I really fancied her at the 4th or 5th, and then we just thought, we'd get a run over hurdles for her. Unfortunately, Alan and her parted way at the first, so I thought, we'd stick to hurdles. So that's how that evolved. But anyway, she was second, she's going the right way. We've got a lovely grey horse, Eva's Oscar. He's won 3 for us this season, but still looks progressive. I don't think he's reached his climax yet.
He's the horse that I have called a she in the past, and may continue to do so. So that's one of those that catches me out.
Absolutely.
But fits into that progressive bracket.
Oh, definitely. Look, he's a half brother to Amor Latte that was placed in the Feltham. They're good chasing family. Dan Skelton's got another sister of the family. We actually got the sister to him as well, which is Oscar's Eva, which is why you get confused probably. So it's a good, solid national hunt pedigree. Keep progressing. Look, I can't wait until he's over 3 mile and fences. He should be a lovely horse for next season doing that. We've got horses like Tight Call. He's recently been away for a breathing operation. He's another one which we think, or certainly last year thought a great deal of. He won a bumper, a couple of novice hurdles. He was placed in nice handicaps. I think there's probably a nice day in him. And also, your Electron Blurs, 3rd at Cheltenham recently. Cap St Vincent's another one. So we're building up a little crew of horses now who could sort of pop their head up and be nice animals through the year.
Yeah, nice crew of young horses as well. And in the top barn, if you like, in the barn which I confess I didn't know you'd shifted.
Yeah.
Now you're still where you are and the address is the same.
Absolutely, yeah.
you've undergone a bit of a change in the last, what, 3 or 4 years?
Yeah, that's right. So basically we took off, you know, as a yard full stop. I started in July 2008. We went sort of full-time training horses, and it just took off. We went from sort of 6 or 8 horse out of the back garden, really, a semi-detached house to come in here, and then we got up to about 150 horses. It was mental, really, how we sort of progressed. But what we found then, like everything, you learn as you go along, but the sort of density of horse and the configuration of our yard and its actual microclimate, it was hard keeping them healthy in the winters, those sort of damp autumnal sort of months. It was tricky, and then you know, if you miss a month or so, you know, your season's gone, really. So we had all sorts of experts in, literally spent thousands upon thousands changing this, changing that, and analysing airflow and air movement and type of air and all the rest of it. And in the end, I just had enough, and I said, right, it's not clicking. And I'd gone round all yards, Willie Mullins's, Paul Nichols, Colin Tizard, went to them all, Nigel Twiston-Davis, Kim Bailey's, literally everyone, just tried absorbing as much information as I could from every yard. And in, you know, for what it's worth, in my eyes, it's all to do with the sort of microclimate you're in, the conditions around you, the sunlight, the air movement, the design of the barn and things. And
you felt you didn't have those down in the valley, if you like, which we can actually see from up here. You just felt there wasn't that airflow.
Absolutely. I don't think any modifications in the end would have allowed me to train 100 horses and keep them healthy 365 days of the year, just simply because, like you just said, it was damp air there, and there wasn't the airflow movement through the barns and things. So I sort of bit the bullet, sat down with my wife and said, right, how do we go about this? You know, it's quite frustrating. We probably put, I don't know, the best part of 2 million into developing what was a lovely, efficient, neat, tarmacked, all the trimmings yard, and
which started really well as well. That's the thing. So the clues weren't there initially.
That's the thing. We probably went 5 or 6 years, and they just flew. And then all of a sudden, we just saw it creeping in. You know, the horses, and it became cyclical. You know, you could see the patterns. It was that sort of September, October time. The horses just weren't right. So I thought, right, we need to make amendments. And as I said, I went to all the various yards, looked, and really then just took sort of little bits from everywhere, and I thought, right, I'm going to create the right environment for us to make us efficient and to hopefully keep the horses right. I was very fortunate that we own plenty of land here, and you know, we had different people analysing it with me. We provided a new site, went to the planners, they said no problem, and yeah, we built a new barn. I remember I was in Colin Tizard's, actually, in a very similar layout. I was probably as close to our bottom yard stroke top yard as you could ever get. And I left Colin's, I said, geez, next season I'll start in a new, wife and I were in the car, and I said, next season I'll start with a barn exactly the same, up the top, so to speak. And that's exactly what happened. I think I left there about April time, and by the autumn we'd moved in, and we built 50 here. And it just worked straight away. The horses just came for us.
And you're building more now?
Yeah, so decided then, once it clicked, we thought, right, let's make it happen. So we're building another 40 as we speak, which should be finished now within the next couple of weeks. Look, it's taken a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of effort, and obviously to leave a yard of the best part 116 boxes I think we had, to build a new one was, you know, financially crippling. But you know, I could be at it for another 20, 30 years, and then my lad may come behind or whatever. So I thought, right, let's just get on and do it. And that's what we've done, and thankfully it seems to be working.
What's the vision then? What's realistically? Let's give you 5 years. What do you have a vision of what it's going to be like up here, and what your establishment?
Oh, massively. Look, I could not be hungry at the moment. Now it's clicked and it's working. I know where I can go with things. We're already putting in new yardings. We'll have 90 stables up here. We're just sorting out 2 new horse walkers. I'm going in for planning for an equine swimming pool. We'd probably have a menage up here and a schooling lane up here for the young horses and to school them and things. We got a solarium going in. You know, I'm just going to go all out now. I'm really keen. Just now I can see sort of light at the end of the tunnel, and the money's been well spent. I'll go for it and get everything, you know, literally up the top yard, which we had in the bottom yard, and more, to be honest. So you know, couldn't be happier really with it all.
It's going to be Tim and Ed, Vaughan, the powerhouse of the future.
Yeah, well, he's the lucky one. He probably won't have all the finance agreements that I've got, but that's life. You know, I'm not from a racing background. I sort of just enjoyed it, took off. I was sort of self-taught. I didn't train or ride out or whatever in any other yards, and I just did what I thought was right. And you know, being honest, that worked for me. You know, it was new, and lots of owners come to me for that fresh sort of mindset, I suppose. And then it's trial and error, and you learn as you go along. But as you know, in truth, that's exactly what is what's going to happen. My eldest lad Ed is absolutely mad fanatic of it and riding out and things, and I don't doubt he'll want to train. So the idea being really, if I set it all up for him, he's ready to continue it really.
More from Tim and his son Ed later, but first, Christina McCullany has been to meet the team behind Cheltenham fox hunter hero Hazel Hill. They are Phil Rowley and Alex Edwards.
He is the champion pointer and hunter chaser. Hazel Hill wins the Fox Hunters.
So Phil, you had an amazing season with Hazel Hill. We'll talk about him in a second, but just talk us through how you started in point-to-point racing and how you've got to this point.
Well, the point-to-point racing probably started about 10 years ago. I was sent a horse called Over Budget to break for a man called Albert Argent, and he said, well, why don't you train her? So that's probably how it started. She was the first horse we had to run. She ran at Weston Park and went from there, and then it's gone on from there really.
And to go on to the stable star, Hazel Hill, how is he?
Stable star Hazel Hill is very well, probably as good as he's ever been. He's back in now in full work, and yeah, he's exciting. Hopefully aim him at Chaddesley Corbett over Christmas, possibly. And then we'll aim, obviously the aim is for him to go back to the Fox Hunters at Cheltenham, or with a hunter chase en route, possibly Warwick if it fits weather and, yeah, that's the type of thing.
So it was Warwick last season where he probably came to a lot of people's attention. He was pretty impressive, wasn't he?
It was, and I think it was after Warwick where the owner, Mrs. Williams, actually said, okay, he is good, because until then I think she doubted his ability, and we'd hoped he was good. Yeah, he was great, he was a star.
I mean, age 11, and you have the best campaign of his life.
I know, we were lucky, weren't we? Very lucky to get him. Mrs. Williams, who owns him, Jane, the daughter, used to train him. She had children, so therefore she couldn't train anymore. So luckily we were sent the horse, and yeah, so how lucky are we?
Well,
that
indeed.
Jane had a baby.
Well, after Warwick, how did you start to plan your way to Cheltenham?
We were thinking of possibly running in between, but he's a little bit fragile, so it was the risk to run him and make him not get to the Cheltenham Fox Hunters was greater, so we decided not to run him, go straight there. That was probably the hardest thing, to make sure he was tuned up enough for Cheltenham and not go there a bit flat. So it was an amazing day for all of us here as an amateur outfit. Amazing for Alex Edwards, who rode him. He gave him a cracking ride, and just, yeah, dream stuff really, but it was great.
I mean, did you feel any pressure, particularly on the day, on the build-up?
Awful lot of pressure on my head on the Saturday morning. And not a lot really, because Mrs. Williams is such a great owner. If to get there with a fighting chance, she was just happy as Larry, and no, there wasn't an awful lot of pressure, although there would have been, really, wouldn't there?
It was amazing for Alex, I guess, and for you to see him win on that sort of stage.
I think, yeah, he gave the horse a great ride. He's ridden at, that he had a ride in the Kimure, but so he was in the Cheltenham zone, if you like,
right.
Which is nice for him. But he rides really well. He's very dedicated, very driven. Yeah, no, it was great. It was a great day.
He has a great relationship with Hazel Hill, doesn't he?
He does. Loves the horse. He's always had huge belief in him, as we all have. And yeah, no, hopefully we can do it again this year.
It was an incredible day. Well, something we've aimed to do since we've started pointing and hunter chasing and all them sort of races, but there's nothing that can compare to that day. Yeah, it was brilliant.
Talk us through the race. How did it go for you?
To be fair, I was very confident on him, because the way he won at Warwick the run before, we were quite excited about being able to take him there, and so I sat him up in sort of a handy sort of position, and he settled quite nicely, and then I always had the gears to pick him up when I needed to, so no, it was perfect really. He was brilliant.
How do you feel going into this season with him, and does he give you the same feel as he did last year?
Yep, he seems just as good, so hopefully he can go and do the same sort of thing again. That would be fantastic. He's ready for his first run now. He'll start in a point-to-point, probably at Chadsley or somewhere this sort of time of year anyway, and then he'll probably go down the same sort of route, Warwick, and then hopefully on to Cheltenham from there if everything goes right, yeah.
What does it mean to you as a team to have brought that prize back here?
Oh, it's incredible, because obviously that's, for everyone in the amateur side of the sport, it's the Gold Cup, isn't it? So it was fantastic.
It seems like a really happy, relaxed team here, and a really nice team ethos.
Yeah, no, we've got a great team here, and we're very lucky. We've got some, as you've seen this morning, we've got some very nice horses to go to war with. Yeah,
it's an exciting time of year, isn't it?
Oh, it's very exciting. Yeah.
I have to ask, what's Phil like to work for?
Oh, he's grand. He's more like a mate really than a boss. So no, it's brilliant.
So you said to me earlier that you always try to improve things year on year here. How have you gone about that, and how have you seen things change?
From a facilities point of view, basically we bought this here about 19-20 years ago, and every year we've tried to improve by putting new barns up to improve the facilities and grow the business as well. Obviously we started first of all breaking young horses, and then it moved on to the pointers as well alongside. So yeah.
And you've got an incredible location. It's very peaceful, it's very secluded. You don't actually have to travel anywhere to work your horses. Just talk us through the facilities that you use.
So we're very lucky. We've got an extensive hacking at our advantage. We've got 2 gallops which we've put in. We've got a big outdoor school, which we do an immense amount of flat work, which then also is great for jumping the young horses and teach to start them off. And a variety of things really. Horses get turned, an awful lot of turnout. Horses get turned out regularly. We try to have a huge variety in what we do.
In terms of sort of using what you naturally have here, the water walkway, for example, how do you find that aids training?
I suppose you can make it complicated and say, oh, it's great for their legs, but I think more so it's just the majority of horses love it, just going in there and having a play, and splash about and just relax. But it is good for cooling their legs. But yeah, it's more for the enjoyment of keeping the horses happy, which is, I presume, one of the main things I like to do is keep the horses happy. A happy horse, healthy horse, a fit horse.
Just to turn to the rest of your team for this year, Optimised, how's he?
Optimised is a star. He was an ex-Gigginstown horse that came from the Doncaster Sales, Goffs, UK. He was a little bit tricky to work out in the early days. A horse that likes to be happy out in front with his ears pricked. Last year he ran first time out under Noel George because Al was riding another horse in the race at Chadsley Corbett, and he got beat anyway. All the owners were down a bit glum about that. But anyway, he ended up, we went to Bangor in an open hunter chase for his first hunter chase and won. That was a decent race actually. And then ended up going to Cheltenham for the 4 miler where he ran a hell of a race. And if he hadn't missed 3 out on that downhill fence, just got a bit close to it, he might have won, but anyway he was second, but he was a good second, so we were all very happy with him. He again wants soft ground, horse that likes a bit of cut in the ground. He wouldn't be the quickest horse, but I think he'll stay forever, and he's a very honest horse. So yeah,
lovely looking horse as well.
Gorgeous looking horse, isn't he? Big black horse, yeah. He's very well, and he won't be long before he's out as well. Now Ben's been great. He's won 15, 16 races for us. He's an ex-Nicky Henderson horse by Beneficial, a bit free running, but he loves like top of the ground. He's a Cottenham expert. He's won most of his races around Cottenham. No, we love him very much, and although we were slightly negative whether he'll run again this season, because of a few problems, but he will, and he's as good as ever. So very happy.
Another horse we saw today, who you are very hopeful for, Wishing and Hoping.
Wishing and Hoping, yeah. I don't know why, because he hasn't proved it yet, but I just absolutely adore him. I think he's oozes quality, and he was with Alan King, and he's owned by some great owners of ours, Peter and Trish Andrews, who said, would you want to have him? We had him last year, ran him at Chadsley Corbett, and he won his point to point. I wasn't actually there, I was at Barbury. And then we went to the Lady Dudley Cup, which is one of the big classic point to points, and he absolutely bolted at beating a good horse by 25 lengths, and apparently it was the fastest time since 1971.
Wow.
So yeah, and I think he's come on this season again, but again we haven't run him yet, so we're yet to know.
And Champagne Lily, lovely, pretty grey
Champagne Lily,
filly.
yeah,
isn't she?
she's a lovely filly. She had a year off last year, just pulled a little muscle. She's back this time. Whether she'll stay here or not, I don't know. She'll run in a point-to-point first to see if everything's all right, and then she might go under rules. It depends what the owners want to do with her, because she's been limited on weight because she's not a very big filly. So, but she's a classy filly. The family have got a great pedigree, and a lot of black type in there. Very nice.
In terms of your younger horses, you've got a lot of exciting young horses by very exciting young sires.
Yeah.
Just talk us through some of those.
Yeah, great bunch. I think there's the nicest bunch we've ever had. We've got 2 or 3 Scirocco's, we've got a few Fame and Glories, we've got some Getaways, lots of, all at the moment, none of them have been beaten, and they're all really well. But I suppose once Christmas and we get into the new year, we start to just up the ante a bit and push the button a little bit more, see where we are, and it's then you'll really know whether or not they hold together, and they're going to wow the world, that's what we want, some good superstars out of them.
With a point-to-point season building, as well as meeting Hazel Hill and the team, Christina also visited Aston Rowant in Oxfordshire, home to Alan and Lornie Hill.
Point-to-pointing's been my life. I started off when I was a boy. We had a point-to-point course on the farm at Crowell, and I remember many days over there treading footmarks in, helping the men with the birch, stacking the fences, put in then hurdles. We didn't have white railing, wooden wings, and I was brought up doing all that. So that was a big part of my childhood of remembering. So ever since then, I've come on through point-to-pointing. Of when I got older, I rode the horses at home, schooling, galloping, and then as soon as those days I was 15, I rode in a race, and I rode some very average horses from the dad at home. Gradually worked on from there, and over the years I was very fortunate then to ride some most brilliant horses and have some fantastic times in the saddle. So the whole of my life has been point-to-pointing. It's from the first memory right through to today. It's been a major part of my life.
Just talk us through your training career as a point-to-point trainer here at Woodway Farm. You were champion in 2014.
Correct.
Runner-up to Tom Ellis last year.
Correct.
How have things progressed since you started training?
Got married to Lornie, and Lornie at that point was the point-to-point trainer. We started off one day, we were out hunting, and someone came up and asked us to have a horse. So we had this one horse that first season. We won a race with him, so that was brilliant. And gradually we've expanded. Lornie at that time was the trainer, and I helped her in every way, but I was a master of hounds. I was hunting a lot. And then when the ban of hunting came in, Lornie wanted to take a professional licence out. It was something that she'd always felt that was part of her want to do, and her mother had a permit, so she was always interested. So I then took over the point-to-point yard. How's it progressed since then? Well, we've worked side by side very well. There's horses crossed from one yard to the other and vice versa, and it's all been a team game. So since 2003, we've just expanded more and more, but with that we can give every owner that turns up an option. If Lornie wants to have a horse to run on the flat, or I want to have a horse to win a 4-mile point-to-point, the offer's there. So the 2 yards do run very well together.
So that's the beautiful nature of it. It's quite a symbiotic sort of relationship between 2 yards. They are separate entities, but there are several horses who have benefited from being able to swap between, and then maybe if they've reached the plateau under rules, they come back to you and have a chance to refresh.
Very much so. This summer is a perfect case with Velvet Cognac. Last season we had him point-to-pointing. He did well, and we had a lot of fun with him, but we just thought through the summer we'd just give him a few extra runs, and we ran him and he got placed chasing a couple of times, and then recently we thought, well, we'll try him over hurdles, and he then went and won a hurdle the other day. And he's a total horse that he learnt a lot as a young horse under rules. Then we've point-to-pointed him last 4 or 5 years. We've just sent him back under rules because his handicap mark had dropped, and we thought we'd just take advantage of it. And with that, at least we've got those options.
So he joined you in 2016 from Warren Great Tricks,
Correct.
I believe. And so since then, how do you go about taking horses from other trainers, and then you seem to apply a very individualistic approach to training them?
Very much so. We've got a big rule in this yard that horses lose their form for a reason. And I think Dr. Richard Newland is another person that says that. Mm-hmm. So we bring them back and we try and find, sometimes it's change of yard and scenery, sometimes it may be something that's hurting them, sometimes it may be even something as simple as diet, sometimes they may be a bleeder, something like that. But we never ever just take a horse and feel that's it. We like to look at it. And Lornie is very, very much into her feeding, and she's very much into the chiropractic work, and she's very thorough with that. I probably have more of the galloping and schooling in the yard, but between us we always like to look deeply into the horse, because as I said earlier, Richard Newland always says class is class. They may lose it temporarily, their form, but their class is there. So we try and find out why, and over the years, for many different reasons, we've been lucky enough that horses have been rejuvenated.
Lornie, spoke to Alan about the individualistic approach you have with horses here, and we saw Lachine Prince, who's joined you earlier, enjoying a pretty good start to the day.
Yes.
So just talk us through how that's another aspect, these massages for horses that can help with you training them.
We just find that some of the horses we have here for point-to-point and such are maybe a bit older, maybe have injuries, and if they can have just a bit of warmth put through those old injuries and spread through the muscles by the handheld massager in the morning, it just helps them, which therefore loosens them up, which in turn lengthens their stride and enables them to jump better, which is after all the name of the game.
So when you talk about lengthening those muscles so a horse can move more easily, if there is any underlying issue that may be holding a horse back, does that help to actually diagnose those problems?
It does, yeah, and Clemmy, the girl who does it's got really good at it now. She does it every day, and she can tell me if a horse is stiff behind the saddle, or where it's stiff or where it's feeling it, you know, she can feel it. So she told us about one horse, we in fact got his back injected, and then the next time out he ran the race of his life, you know, so it really makes a difference. It's also very nice for them. It's like us literally having a massage, having a spa day, and that helps with the general feeling of well-being as well.
And on Lachine Prince, joined you from Ollie Murphy, was previously with Philip Hobbs. How did he come to you?
Alan bought him from Ollie Murphy. He went over there, Ollie rang us and said he'd got a few horses that to go point-to-pointing, and so would Alan like to go and have a look? So he did, and he bought 3. I think he could have brought more, but the level was on 3. So Ollie's very straightforward and tells us all about the horses, and they were ideal for what we wanted. So Lachine Prince has had run quite a bit under rules and hurdling, and so he had a bit of time off, and Ollie thought it would be good for him just to have a bit of a break, and then he could come point-to-pointing, which is dropping down a couple of levels. So.
And just to talk to your side of a business, under rules, the 2 separate entities, and obviously you've got a brilliant working relationship with Alan. How do you find that they complement each other as businesses?
Firstly, although it's a brilliant relationship, sometimes it's fractious because we have different ways of just doing things sometimes, which I know sounds stupid. We've been doing this for 30 years, but we still have different ways. We always go around every morning feeling legs together, and sometimes I'll pick on something or sometimes he will. So I think that hopefully works well. I prefer to do the general horse management, checking if horses aren't right, trying to improve them. Rather, he likes to do the picking of races, and that's he's more that side of things. I also now I don't ride as much, and so I'm on the ground more. You can see so much more on the ground,
right.
So I will be going and watching them and do their gallops if he's maybe riding us here. It helps that you have 2 heads thinking about it.
We're very lucky with our facilities here. We've got our routine all-weather gallop, 3 furlongs round. So the main reason for having that is every day in the summer, if it's bone hard, they can go out and canter. Every day in the winter, if it's freezing or we get snow, we got somewhere to go and do routine work. We've got grass gallops, as you saw this morning, right under the foot of the Chilterns. It's 1.25 miles round on a sunny day, which unfortunately we haven't hit today. It's gorgeous for them. And with going on the grass, it's not dead level and there's bends in it. They learn a balance, but it's just making them think. Then we've got the beautiful beechwoods and the steep hills. Some horses, we had a horse called Start Royale, he only ever lived up in the woods, cantering up this one hill. If we brought him on the grass, he was too wired, and he just loved it up there. Go out with the dogs up the hill, the dogs may chase a rabbit or a hare, he thought that was great fun, but he could cope with that. He couldn't cope with being with a string of horses on the grass or the weather. We've got lovely hacking, we've got miles either way, so if we get a bit of a stale horse, or a horse has had a hard bit of work, or a horse has had a hard race, for 2 or 3 days we can hack them as well. We don't have to go on the roads that much. We do a little bit of road work if we go down the village and all that, but I feel that it's just, we have options, and I don't know, I don't want to wake up every morning doing the same thing.
Sure.
And I find horses just doing that occasionally, it buzzes up. Odd horses, we go hunting, where they enjoy it. We had a horse called Consigliere, who was a great asset to the yard. He loved his hunting, and he used to go off out hunting, but we still hunt the horses as well. Not all of them, 1 or 2 are a bit too wound up and don't enjoy it or get too excited, but the horses that cope with it, we take them hunting as well. So we try and just find anything that we can do to help, and we are lucky enough we've got those facilities to be able to do that.
Just to touch on some horses that's been very successful with, Man of Steel, he's got a particularly good record at Cartmel in the end of May.
Yeah.
He's been great for you over the years.
He came to us, Peter Bowen had him, done very well with him in bumpers, and he'd been placed over hurdles. One of my owners actually said to me, look, he's in the sale, we ought to look at buying him, Toby Hunt. We went to the sales, he, in my opinion, didn't make that much money. Yes, came here quirky, very quirky. He's by Craig Steele, and I think most Craig Steels can be of that nature. We found out why. He's a horse that actually is, he suffers a bit with his back problems, and he just needs a lot of work doing on him. He's a horse that always needs his first run every season, because you can't work him too hard at home. If you started galloping him too much or doing too much with him, he just slightly goes against you. So every year he has his first run, and I think why he does well at Cartmel is by then it's May and he has had his runs, he's got himself in good order, we can then sit back off him, and he's easy to train once he's fit, but we have to be careful we don't over-train him up to that point. This year, having won at Cartmel 3 years on the run, he went there this year and he came back unfortunately with a bit of a problem, which is right, and he's back in full work now, and we hope to run him in the next month. But he, for some reason, Cartmel quirkiness suits a quirky horse.
You've also got Lorium. A lot of people know from his years with Nicky Henderson. I believe, is he not unbeaten for you since he's joined you?
Yeah, Lorium last year ran 3 times and won all 3. The gang that owned him with Nicky, the man that runs the syndicate, David Sumpter, I drink with regularly at the pub, and David just said that they felt that the horse's mark, like so often happens under rules, had got too high, and they were going to get a young horse because they wanted to have another go, and they said, would he be interested in me to go point to point in? So over a pint in the pub, a deal was struck. He came here. He does love top of the ground.
Right.
And the one thing that the owners and Nicky Henderson said to me is, you know, just forget if any word soft is anywhere in it, he just won't like it. So we ran him 3 times last year on top of the ground. He then had his runs. He'd been running a little bit in the autumn. We roughed him off. He's back in full work now. And again, the weather we've got at the moment, it will be a waste of time us thinking about running him.
Sure.
So he will reappear hopefully when the ground is right. But you know, we'll see when that is.
Another horse, Backbar, formerly with Gordon Elliott. He's a 7-year-old. He's done well for you so far, hasn't he?
He came from Gordon. David Minton bought him for Richard and Gilly Cranfield, for daughter Henrietta to ride. And he turned up here, and he was a horse that Gordon is a very, very clever man, and he obviously turned up here, and we just needed to freshen him up. I personally, when he turned up here, felt that the horse was very average. We freshened him up, and before he came here, the Cranfields had him at home and hunted him a bit, and they got some weight on him and made him look real more like a show horse than a pointer. So he had turned up here in good order, and we just trained him a little bit more individual. Henrietta rode him and was second on him, and she rode him more to get round and achieved a cracking result, and then she had her first winner on him next time out at High Easter, which was a great day because all her family and friends were there because they'd had a family party the night before, so they could celebrate again. And then unfortunately she had a bit of a fall. Henrietta and Izzy rode him twice and he won both of those ladies. So he's a very exciting prospect. We again won't be rushing to run him too early. He's in full work. He's slightly the opposite to Lorium. He does, a big horse, like some cut in the ground.
Another horse, Cashmere Peak, we saw this morning out on the Canter. How's he?
Yeah. Cash, unfortunately last season, his season ended a bit early. He picked up a hind leg injury. He's owned by one of the most enthusiastic owner riders going in, Dan Cherryman. Dan is huntsman of the Pytchley, got into racing, and his one real want and love in life is he wants to ride round Aintree. He's had some fantastic rides on his horses over the years and ridden some winners, and now he's been and got his Cat B licence through the summer, and Cash's aim is to try and get him to Aintree, because being a hunting man, Dan a couple of times has been to Aintree and looked at the course and just wants to go and jump those fences. The Swan, as you saw, cantering, he's in now hard work, and the aim would be to try and get him away just after Christmas. Got to get him qualified for Aintree, and if we do, then all roads will lead to Aintree.
And another horse under rules has been a star, Clondor Westy.
Yeah.
Won quite a few races for you.
Yeah, he's been a star, he really has. Tom Malone got him for us. I went down to Tom's base where he was near the other side of Taunton, and he had him, and he got some very good form. He'd beaten, I think it was Vinnie Lewis and Carter McKay in his point to point. You know, to be fair, that was his third or fourth run, where it's probably their first runs. But he had decent form. He came over. He wasn't very well when he came over. A combination of just coming over and things not just he wasn't quite right. So we took our time with him the first year, and then after that he hasn't looked back. As soon as he's gone over fences, he hasn't looked back. He's been a complete star for us. Those are the days that you really enjoy going to the races with them, when you think you've got a real live chance. I was very pleased with his last run at Kempton. We knew he was actually due to run at Exeter the day before, but it was off. And that was over, although it was over 2, Exeter's obviously a much stiffer 2, and 2.5 at Kempton is always going to be quite tight. And he was in a 0 to 135, so I was delighted with how he ran. So.
I was going to say that the performance at Kempton just confirmed that he pulled up at Aintree on his last start last season, but that certainly isn't indicative of his level of ability. Do you think maybe the trip was perhaps just a little bit too far that day, or was there any other contributing factor?
No, I think, to be fair, it was probably slightly more end of season run, and of course it had rained and rained and rained on the Thursday, and we thought, oh, this will be great, it'll be bottomless, which is what he loves, on the Saturday, because it dried out. Yeah. We were the only people desperately upset that it hadn't rained all Friday and Saturday. So if he'd run on the Thursday, I reckon he would have finished much closer. I think, it's a step up in grade. He was bang there with them till they quickened, but as I say, on softer ground, he would have definitely been closer.
Just to touch on the way you operate here in terms of riders, you're very strong on encouraging novice riders through the ranks here, aren't you?
Yes, it's for a point-to-point yard. It's like having an apprentice or a conditional. We've been very fortunate through our careers and lives that we've had parents who've had horses around. They may have been lower in ability than some of the ones we have now, but that's how you go, that's how you start. And so we feel that if we have novice riders here, that we can help, bring them through and help establish them in the world of point-to-pointing, and maybe go on to other things. Like I said, we've got Fergus Gregory, who was here, who's now conditional at Ollie Murphy's. Tom Kindeyside was assistant to Karen McClintock and Nicky Richards. We've got a good lot of them. Donica too, he works for Godolphin in Australia. So we've got a good lot that have come through and gone on through the grades now. And it's just a way of enabling them to have a ride on a race course if they haven't, got a horse of their own or a family horse.
Back here in Wales, I caught up with Tim about his background in point-to-pointing and met his son, the prodigiously talented Ed. So Tim, as we move on to talk about your son's burgeoning career, how different was it for you? How did it all start for you initially in racing?
Look, I didn't have any racing background as such. Both my parents had an interest in horses, and both my brothers rode as youngsters and things. But my eldest brother did a bit of point-to-pointing, but it was sort of seldom amounts really. And I just enjoyed it and probably took it a lot more competitively as a younger child, show jumping and eventing and hunting and pony club and things. And one day, it was actually Christian Williams' dad, would you believe? Rob said to me, "Oh, why didn't you come and ride a few point-to-pointers for me?" And I said, "Yeah, sounds okay, good fun." So I started galloping them, and it was great fun. I loved it, and he was very supportive actually, and got me going a little bit on a few rides, and it just took off from there.
Weight was okay when I was pointing, but you must have still had to watch yourself a little.
Yeah, look, obviously I'm tall, I'm 6 foot, or probably a touch over, but it was fine actually. I was pretty skinny then, would you believe? And had a couple of rides, wasn't great, and it just started taking off for us then. And sort of 2 or 3 years later, I was Welsh men's point champion, and that was great. I loved it. That was always my target, and I think I did that twice actually. On the second time, that was pretty much it. I thought, right, I've achieved what I wanted to achieve in the sport really.
And then when it comes to your lad Ed, who is how old?
12 now. Yeah.
So he's had a bit of a different start in the game to you.
Yes.
Yeah, great, which is great for him.
Yeah.
Is he better than you ever were?
Oh God, yeah, he's streets ahead of me already.
Go on.
He's look, it's just completely different. From the age of 18 months, he was on the settee, hammering the settee, and I remember him. He was about 5 one day, and he was. I think he saw Aidan Coleman. Aidan Coleman said, or must have seen him. I think Aidan was in riding out and saw him on the bench hitting the whip, and he said, "You can't just do it with your right hand. You need to pull your whip through and do it with your left hand. You need to brush your teeth. You need to brush your hair with your left, your right." And no word of a lie, from literally 4 or 5 years of age, he'd go in some days, he's brushing his teeth one hand, and the other. Aidan said, "I got to pull it through. I got to do this, got to do that," and he's done it. And then he was nagging me to ride, and anyway, he rode an old horse of ours, old chaser of ours actually, and we were up on the schooling grounds one day. He said, "Oh, come on, Dad, let me school over hurdles." I said, "I'll go on, have a breeze up over 1 or 2. Dad, let me jump a fence." And 7 years of age, he was schooling over full-size fences. My wife went absolutely radio rental.
Did she know?
Not at the time. And I remember, well, she comes screaming up the hill in the Jeep. She'd obviously seen what had happened. And I said, "Well, look, he talked me into it." She said, "You're the adult, he's the child." And anyway, by the end of the conversation, he'd managed to convince her that it was a good idea to see him. And he schooled over 3 flights of fences and open ditch at 7 years of age on a full horse, a horse called Grey Cuisine. And he said, "Dad, I want to ride pony race." I said, "Love, you cannot ride until you're 9. That's the rules. There's nothing I can do." So anyway, he must have been on the computer or whatever they do and Googled pony racing, and found out that in Ireland there was no sort of age limits. Not that anyone expects you to start riding at 7 or 8 in Ireland, but there was no age limit to it. So I ended up getting him a few rides in Ireland, and went pony racing there, and he had his first ride I think at 8 or 7 or 8 anyway. Started building up a few connections, and I'm keen, he's loving the game. I love it really, that he's enjoying it. So there was a yard over there, a chap called Jack Sullivan, and in fairness to him, he's got about 10, 12 pony races, which is ponies, but horses, ponies, it all comes under the same banner. I started taking him over there, and then this year, Jack said to us, "Look, if you want to make the visits every weekend, we'll have a crack and we'll try and win the championship for him to be champion rider." I said, "Oh, great, yeah, sounded great in May, the start of the season. By September, I've been going back and forth to Ireland, sort of 14 weekends on the trot. And, it's arduous weekends. You're leaving at midnight on a Saturday night, you're getting back 3:30 on a Monday morning. He's going to school, I'm going back into the yard. You're dealing with owners, runners and whatever. But look, loved every moment of it. And he ended up being champion Irish rider, and then he won the Dingle Derby, which is the equivalent of our Gold Cup. People, that is the race to win basically in that environment.
There can't have been many non-Irish champion pony races.
There's none. As far as all, when I've been over there and seen all the Irish boys who looked after us famously well, they've said it's never happened.
And has it gone down well? I mean, it's a popular...
brilliantly well. They've been great support. Like, we had to get over there. We were always running late to get there because we couldn't get off the ferry any quicker. We were always trying to leave early because we had to get back for the ferry on a Sunday night and things. They were brilliant. They were accommodating. They tried and move the races round for us and all sorts to try and help Ed just keep riding horses. And you know, yeah, brilliant. But no, as far as I'm aware, it's never been done. I don't think the Dingle Derby's ever been won by a Welshman either. And I think he was the youngest rider to ever ride in it, and let alone win it. You know, and the names who've won it, like the likes of Paul Townend, Adrian Maguire and things, you know, he was 11 then, to win that sort of race, it's just unbelievable.
You're his dad, and of course you're going to be hugely positive about him, but it sounds as though, you know, he's a bit of a young sensation on the go here.
Oh look, there's no question he is. Yeah, he's my son, but it means nothing to me. At the end of the day, he's good or he's bad. You know, it's the same with the conditional jockeys in the yard, where I treat them all the same. If you're good, you're good, you'll get on. If you're not, you're not. And no different to him. I've been fairly hard on him. You know, I do support him in every way, and we bought him ponies, helped him train, but if he wasn't any good, I wouldn't be travelling to Ireland every weekend. He'd be down the squash court or whatever he wants to do, but he wouldn't be with me in Ireland. I know that. So he's a freak. There's no other way to describe him. He's just a monster. Every morning of his life, he's up. He'll be out there. You see the lads in, like Robbie, my assistant trainer. He worked for Dunraven Windows and David Brace for many years, and Connor Brace come up, and he sort of was hunting Connor around the place, and he said, I thought Connor was keen and young, but geez, Ed takes it to a new level again, you know. But
is he big?
He is. That's going to be his issue. Whether he's sort of developed now, he's a very strong lad. He's quite a tall, robust lad. So whether or not he'll grow any more now, or that's his level, or, you know, that would be an issue. You know, it's no question. I'm quite tall. My wife Abby's quite tall. You know, he certainly wouldn't be able to go on the flat, although he'd love to. But I'm certain he'll have a good few years on the jumps game.
And is that something you have been cautious to make him aware of as well? Let's say he has a dream to have a fantastic career as a jockey. You've hit home with a bit of reality as well, that it doesn't, for sometimes reasons outside of your control, happen for everyone.
Exactly that, yeah. Look, he's very balanced. I've always said to him, you've got to go to school, you've got to be educated, and we'll continue to do that, come what may. You know, riding a horse very well doesn't ensure you a job in racing and whatnot. And I've said, look, the reality is you are bigger than most for your age. You know, your dam and your sire aren't exactly short, so therefore there may be an issue when you come 20, 21, whatever it may be. So, you know, he's very grounded, very balanced on that, and it's amazing really. He just takes everything in his stride. I think that's what is so good about him for his age, is balanced mindset. Geez, I get a lot more wound up than he ever does. And he won at Cheltenham, the final there, the Charles Owen recently, and my wife and I, we were revved to the eyeballs, you know. We were so excited, and he came in, well, you know, great, the pony did well, Dad, or whatever. And that's the last he thought about it. We'd barely spoken about it, weirdly. So that, you know, he takes everything in his stride, and he's fully aware, look, he might get a bit big, he might not. We'll play every day as it comes. He'd love to ride. We'll see if it doesn't happen. You know, we got a racing yard here. You might want to take on at some stage. You might want to go somewhere else. You know, what will be. And you know, I'll support him. If he wants to be a plumber, I'll support him. Whatever he wants, really. But as you start the conversation off, he's at a completely different ground in coming into race than I ever had. You know, he's asking me how the blood results were and the scope results were at 10 years of age. That's a lot different to what I was.
Let's be honest, he's assistant trainer.
Well, I'd say that's probably the route he's going to take in the long term, yeah.
Ed, how was Cheltenham, first of all, riding a winner that day? That must have been a good afternoon for you.
Oh, it was a brilliant afternoon. Look, it's not been the most luckiest track for my dad and myself, but just coming up the finish in front in the final furlong, it was amazing. And well, to have a ride at Cheltenham's brilliant, but to win it, it's unreal.
Now, I remember interviewing your dad after his Cheltenham winner. It must have been maybe 2 Novembers ago now, and they were all going mad. And I bet he was going mad when you rode that winner. But how were you? Were you nice and calm afterwards?
Well, I just try and keep all my emotions in, and just try and praise the horse and all the other jockeys, because getting there's pretty tough, and then to actually ride in the race is it's pretty big, and then to win it, it's a dream come true, really. What
was it like over in Ireland? Was it when you and your dad sort of said, right, we're going to go and give this a go and try and win the Pony Racing Championship over there? What was that whole experience like for you, Ed?
Oh, it's just riding every weekend over there, having about 6-7 rides, depends what the meeting is. It's one in a lifetime to have that experience, because over here you only get 2 rides a weekend, and it's just the jockeys over there are so good, and it's just brought me on so much. I wouldn't be where I am now if it wasn't for Jack Sullivan, who's helped me along the way, and Tom Malone, who's given me the ride on Cider Man.
Are you a much better rider now than you were, say, 12 months ago because of that?
100%. Like, when you go over there, you don't know what you're going to ride. You don't know you've never sat on a horse in your life before, and you've got to think quickly and just get on with it and just keep your head down and just get as many rides as you can, as many winners on the board as you can as well.
What's it like, the buzz of riding a winner?
Oh, it's really good. So, well, just for the horse to gallop to the line and run a good race, that's a really nice feeling. But when they go and win, and you've put in all the hard work at home training the horse for 12 weeks to get it fit and all that, and then you go and win, it's a really good feeling.
Speaking recently I had a long chat with Dennis O'Regan actually about it recently, the difference between pony racing over here and over in Ireland.
Yeah.
What was it like for you? Do you remember the first time you rode in a pony race over there? Was it a completely different experience, how competitive it was and everything?
Oh, definitely, 100%. Everyone's in the paddock, they're all thinking about what's going on. Over here, everyone's just having a laugh, having a joke about it. But when you get down the start, everyone's just in the zone. They're just, if you're dosing at the start and just they're gone, you're 20 lengths behind before you even start, race all over. And then you've just got to keep your mind sharp the whole time, because over here, everything happens slowly. But when you're going over there, you're jumping off one, jumping on the next.
What was the moment, I don't know if maybe you can't remember the moment because you may have been too young, where you thought, I want to ride horses? Do you remember it specifically, or is it just for as long as you can remember that's what you wanted to do?
It was when I was 3, I'd be walking around on my dad's shoulders, walking around the barn, it's like just going seeing the horses in the nights, just making sure they're all fine and that. And then just one day, just watching the horses cantering up the gallop, so I wanted to have a go at this, and then Dad put me on one of the horses, and since that day I've just loved it since then.
With regard to the future, do you have sort of goals mapped out? Are you taking each season as it comes? Do you have to balance the education side of it as well, which I know your dad's keen to talk about? So what is the ultimate goal going forward, do you think?
Well, Dad's always just said to me, just focus in school, get everything done in school, because if the racing doesn't go your way, or you're a bit heavy, like my dad's very tall and he struggled a bit with his weight, just get all your education done, and then you have that to fall back on. And then if I can make the weight and all that, I've just got to take it every season as it comes. And well, the aim is to be champion conditional, and hopefully, if everything did go right, obviously to be champion jockey. That's what everyone's dream is, and that's what we're striding towards. But we just got to keep our fingers crossed and just keep riding winners, really.
It's a great place to be right here. I mean, look, I know this is obviously where you've grown up, but it's a great facility now here, and you're getting a chance to sit on some good horses as well.
Oh yeah, just the horses Dad's put me on is really good. Like, it was 12 months ago before I started going to Ireland, I couldn't dream about the horses which I'm riding now, and just being obviously very away from all the other trainers. It's just we can do everything in our own time, and we think about it, and we've got all the time in the world to get the horses in good form and get them winning races, really.
Away from point-to-pointing, whilst on her travels, Christina also caught up with a familiar equine star who is embarking on a new start.
Champion bumper winner Moon Racer was a stable stalwart at David Pipe's yard for several seasons, but now recently retired, he's been sent to show ride at Clare Pool, who's passionate about retraining racehorses for new disciplines. So with that in mind, she's brought him here to Moors Farm Equestrian Centre in Gloucestershire, and we've come along to meet her and see how Moon Racer's getting on.
He's really enjoying his work. It is different to what he's obviously been doing before, but he's coping with being with other horses with him, other horses following him. He doesn't seem to worry about the poles. I think he's going to probably quite enjoy jumping.
Excellent. I mean, he actually ended up effectively being a lead horse for another retired racehorse, so doing very well. I mean, okay, pole or two down, and to people who know him as a winning hurdler, it may not look like much, but he's spent his whole life being told that if you jump something, you can brush through the top of it. So this is totally new, isn't it?
Completely new for him, and I do think, hopefully, as the fences get a little bit higher, he will respect them more.
Of course.
And like Jude, who was teaching us, was saying he'll find it easier to come out of a canter, because of course he would never have come to his fences out of a trot.
Nope.
Like Moon. So yeah, I just think time will tell, but I do think he's got quite a natural talent when it comes to the jumps. So
excellent. So how did you come, because you've got him on Tompo too.
That's right.
Both for Carolyn Tisdall.
Yep.
Both Cheltenham Festival winners for her and David Pipe. How did they come to you?
I've had a couple from David to do some rehab before over the last couple of years. I had a lovely horse called Balgary who had pretty much everything go wrong with him. Right. And David said, he's a lovely horse, can you come and have a look at him and see whether you think. He said, everyone that's been wants something perfect. And I went to see him, and he is a nice person, and I said, I'm sure, you know, when he gets sound and right again, he'll go on and be a fab horse. And he did. He's gone to a girl that I know down in Devon, and he's got eventing now, which is lovely. So I got to know Claire Wyatt, who looked after Balgary, and she's kept in touch and sort of let me know when ones are finishing and puts in a good word for me, and goes from there really. So
you're very passionate about using racehorses, retraining them for different purposes, giving them a second career. How did you get interested in doing that?
My first horse when I came off of ponies was a racehorse, an absolute lunatic. It only made the track twice and bolted twice, but he was just a little 15-2. And that sort of got my love of them, and I just think they're incredible to go and do what they've done, and then you ask them a completely different question and they never really say no. They'll say, okay, yeah, I'll try my heart out. Yeah, I think they're incredible.
In terms of when you get a horse from a trainer, basically they're all individuals, but as a general practice, how do you go about settling them in?
When they come, we obviously just give them a nice period of downtime, so lots of turnout, which a lot of them won't have been used to, and then once they've sort of chilled out and had the shoes off and feet have hardened up, we'll start with some going back to real basics really, so a lot of long lining and lunging, and the hard one is trying to teach them to stand at the mountain block. That's quite a hard one.
Right, I can imagine.
And just doing lots of hacking. We find most of them are quite good when it comes to the hacking, but a lot won't have gone out on their own. They'll have always gone in a string. So we try and go in a pair, but try and not go with more than that, because that reverts back to racing. And then it's really about taking them to sort of educational events like this and finding out what they enjoy.
I mean, every racehorse basically deserves an opportunity to see what they can do next and everything, regardless of what they show on the track. But this guy and on Tompo too, obviously Cheltenham Festival winners on the biggest possible stage. I mean, his champion bumper was something to watch.
Yeah, he's got quite some turn of foot, hasn't he?
Yeah.
And to come from the position he came from, it wasn't an easy race. But yeah, I think it's just a shame that he had the few niggles that he had, that he didn't go on and do more, because I think he would have been an incredible horse. But I'm very lucky because he's now with me, so I think he will go on and do some great things in his retraining.
What's he like to actually deal with day to day?
He's really quite a good boy. He's quite easy to do. He doesn't mind being led in or out, or he can sometimes have a little swipe at you when you're doing his girth. But I was pre-warned about that. Loves his food. He's just generally a really nice person to have around. What that is.
If someone wanted or liked the idea of having a retrained racehorse, they've got a space for a horse, they can come to you, basically.
They can come to me, yeah.
Come to you for advice.
Yeah, they can come to us for advice. We take in horses for reschooling, so if somebody buys one and might find they're having a few teething problems, or very often I'm in touch with quite a few trainers who will say, I've got this coming available, so I can often put people directly in touch with them.
What next for this guy?
So I was just talking to Jude just now. I think we'll go and do a little bit of show jumping in the next couple of weeks.
Really?
I'm going to register him with BS just to do their club league, because they have a ROR league as well, so it's just for ex-racehorses, and see what we make of that, and probably some dressage over the winter and see how he gets on.
It's going to be busy then.
Yeah.
That's it for this week's This Racing Life, and indeed this series. Thanks to everyone who has taken part, and we'll see you again soon.